wanted to talk about the whole freedom camping thing in this video because I've been watching the news as well, what's been written about it and so forth, and people share those articles on Facebook and stuff like that. And yeah, I think the whole concept of only wanting wealthy tourists is foolish. Right, I think I'm on the right settings this time. I've been trying to do this a few times and I was on slow motion, so it didn't actually work. I had slow motions videos of myself talking with no sound and it would turn itself off. Anyway, I've got Miss Fiends here helping today. Who's there? Oh, no, that's dumb. And yeah, I think the whole concept of only wanting wealthy tourists is foolish because right now we've got no tourists, and shutting people out of towns or making them go to camping grounds isn't going to work. It's not going to give the small businesses in those towns any revenue at all, because a lot of Kiwis don't want to travel like that. You know, there's some who can afford to hang out at camping grounds, but they're getting pretty expensive these days, a lot of them. And I personally wouldn't go to a town where I couldn't stay anywhere. So, pardon me, I've just had a juice. And yeah, so I don't understand quite what their thinking is behind that, because the spending is different. New Zealand's well known for nature, for hiking, for adventure sports, adventure tourism, things like that, and the upper class tourists don't do that quite as much. They might do the odd thing, but I've spoken to a few, and you know, they drive from Rotorua to Wellington to Christchurch to Queenstown, and then they leave the country and stay at big hotels. Now, for an example, we have Te Kuiti, which is near Waitomo Caves, which is somewhere tourists go to. They're clever. They've got one of those Kiwi camps, those little setups where you prepay for the facilities and only pay for what you use. You get a card and you can go in and do that. Now, that's smart because they haven't got any big flash hotels for the wealthy tourists there. They might have the odd sort of unique accommodation around the place, but a little town like that, it's a farming area, but you know, they still have tourism there, and they have the tourists that come in, spend a bit of time, spend a bit of money, and they spend more time in each place. You know, the travellers, if you spend a week somewhere, you're going to spend a bit of money because you've got to do groceries, get fuel if you've got a vehicle, maybe repairs, do all sorts of things, laundry, yeah, whatever you need, day-to-day life essentials. So those kind of travellers frequent the smaller businesses around the town than probably the upper crust tourists do. So and another thing I want to say is, like, these young people who, you know, come to New Zealand, buy a van, travel around, live cheap, but have experiences. They do go and do the adventure stuff and things like that and spend money on things like that. But they're the people who are quite often either studying, just finished studying, having a gap year, whatever, and they're going to go back home and they're going to have wonderful memories of New Zealand, and then later on, when their career has taken off and they're a more well established, financially better off person, then they're going to have wonderful memories of New Zealand and want to come back. You know, shutting out a whole age group of the type of travellers that New Zealand wants or doesn't want is not really going to benefit the country, I feel. And at the moment we haven't got tourists. The tourism businesses are trying to get by. They need people, so shutting people out of towns isn't going to help those businesses at all. I don't understand the sense of it. I think it would make much more sense to rather spend the money that they spend on, hiring security companies and stuff like that to keep an eye on things. Still have people, keep an eye on things, but actually building infrastructure to cope with the tourism. If things get overcrowded, but quite often it's because there's only one or two places to stay, so everybody goes there. Whereas if it was divided up a bit more, the locals wouldn't be so upset because they wouldn't turn up somewhere and have 80 vans and cars and things like that. Maybe have some areas, a few more, and have them better set up, and then have areas for the locals. I remember years ago, quite a few years ago now, well, not lots, but I was in Hawke's Bay and they had freedom camping areas for self-contained people, and then they had one car park along Marine Parade that was for the non-self-contained people, and it had water and toilets and things like that. That was really popular and a lot of people stayed there, and the locals complained, but there's a whole lot of other car parks they can go to have a picnic or walk their dog. They didn't have to go to that one, I don't think. They're all dotted along that coastline. And then because the people were complaining, they downsized it to having 8 marked out areas for vans and things. And of course all those other people had to go somewhere else. So where do they go? Somewhere out in the Wops where there's no toilets, where there's no facilities, where nobody notices them or harasses them. So they end up going to places where they probably wouldn't have as a first choice, because they would prefer to have facilities to use. It's just so much common sense, and I really think that these people making these laws and rules and things should actually get in a vehicle and explore the lifestyle a bit and how it actually really works, rather than just sit in their house in Wellington or Auckland and go to their office and make all these judgments on an area of life they have no experience with. It's just been absolutely astounding to me that somebody who's the Minister of Tourism or whatever he is wants to shut down a whole aspect of tourism at a time when the whole country is under stress because of the lack of tourism. It's just like, what on earth? Why do that now? I do have strong opinions about things. I like to observe life and watch things and see what conclusions I come to, but I've also been on the road for a long time and have observed how people do things and what they do and what freedom campers do and don't do, and the majority are good people. It's the odd one that creates issues, or overcrowding does create some problems. But yeah, anyway, it's an interesting thing to have going on right now. So anyway, I would love to know what you think. Please put it in the comments below. It'd be interesting to sort of thresh this subject out and see what sort of ideas we can come up with. And yeah, I do hope that the NZMCA, who sort of appointed themselves as spokespeople, can step in and maybe deal with this. I don't actually freedom camp a lot anymore, very rarely these days, because I just like a bit more quiet and privacy and stuff like that, but lots of people do, and yeah, it would change New Zealand and how it is. New Zealanders have always gone out there and gone camping and gone exploring and enjoyed nature, and most of them look after the environment. It's much like people in houses. Some people in houses are very good and do their recycling and look after the place, and other people don't. They don't care. They throw their rubbish off a bank somewhere rather than pay to get rid of it and things like that. So you get good and bad in every lifestyle, and I think that needs a little bit more sorting out. So anyway, yeah, it's interesting. It'd be interesting to see what happens with all of that. Yeah. Right. Oh, that's a bit disgusting. I'm just gonna put some veggies in the sink and make a big batch of juice, because I haven't done that for a while and I need to use these up or they'll go off, which would be a real waste. So what I use to wash them is either vinegar or baking soda. Look at that. Some cilantro, or coriander as we call it here in New Zealand, depending on where you're from. This stuff is really, really good. Okay, not that much. At getting heavy metals out of your body, like mercury and aluminium and stuff like that, because you know that stuff's not very good to have in your body, and I feel there's quite a bit of it in our environment, and I've got a mouthful of amalgam fillings anyway, so it tastes quite interesting. I don't like eating it in salads, that's why I juice it. So we're going to chuck some parsley in there. Now it's time for my least favourite part of juicing, and that's cleaning this thing out. I always pour a heap of water through it. It's actually, this tap is brilliant for that. I can just stick it in there to give it a rinse out so there's not as much pulp in it. But the pulp is my main issue. Like, I don't have a compost pile and I hate putting it in the rubbish. Sometimes I use it, but if I've juiced a lot of ginger and turmeric with my juice, it doesn't really taste that good. So yeah, no, a compost pile would be awesome. But anyway, I'm going to carry on and clean up. This juice is for a couple of days. I'm not going to drink all of that today. That would be ridiculous. And look at the funny brown colour it goes. That's because I've got greens, carrots and beets in there, and that it always goes that colour. If I don't put the beets in, it doesn't go that colour, but I like beets, so, and they're good for you. So the whole point of this is to do something healthy. So yeah, done. Could be a bit dark in here. I'm just trying to grab a moment while the lawnmower's not here, but yeah, no, it's certainly summery. It's getting hot here. I've just been running around taking some photos of a tyre guy who wants to take a giveaway, and I've put it on Facebook. And yeah, I've worked this morning, and yesterday I had an awesome time. We had a reunion of all the crew that was here during lockdown, which, yeah, I guess we're like family now. We kind of bonded over that whole experience. I mean, a lot of us knew each other anyway, but we hadn't sort of spent that much time together. And yeah, so we had a lovely, lovely lunch out at the Prince Albert Hotel in Cambridge. I'll put up a photo of this lunch because it really was cool. It was a lot of fun, and they surprised me with a big bunch of balloons and sang to me for my birthday, which is today. So that was really, really lovely of them. I really appreciated that. Yeah, so it's been a good day. I haven't done anything special today because I thought yesterday was cool. And yeah, I'm 53 now, so I guess I've had a few of these birthday things, and yeah, it's okay. Fiends is very hot and bothered. She's not enjoying this heat at all. When I've finished talking to you, I'll turn the fan back on, but it puts really bad whooshing noises on the audio, so it's not very good. But yeah, anyway, so I'm going to take you for a wee wander around, and then I'm going to call it a day and go. So anyway, if you enjoyed this kind of run-of-the-mill day in my life, week in my life, or whatever it is, yeah, please do like and subscribe, and yeah, let me know what you're doing over summer. I'm quite curious where everybody's going, and you don't have to give me details, just, you know, how you're amusing yourself over the summer break. And yeah, lots of love to you all, and see you all next time.